This is Speak of the Devils on AZ Family Sports.
Welcome to Speak of the Devils, the premier TV show for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV.
And I'm Joe Healey with DevilsDigest.com.
Joe, fall camp is coming up real quick. We are going to be back on August 1st with weekly episodes of Speak of the Devils. But as part of this season, new season that's coming up, ASU's first in the Big 12. The Big 12 media poll came out last week. And of the 16 teams that are making up this new look of the Big 12, ASU was picked dead last. Do you think that's fair?
Most Sun Devil fans love the number 16 like a Jake Plummer, but 16 is not good in this instance. Dead last. Seems a little unfair, but ASU has a lot of question marks, and especially going into a new conference where maybe a lot of the media don't know the ins and outs of the Sun Devils. It is kind of what you get when you have back-to-back 3-win seasons. Do I expect ASU to finish dead last in the conference? No, I do not.
Neither do I. Yeah, I just submitted my media ballot. I had ASU 12th, and we'll get, of course, as the season gets closer, we'll dive into exactly how we see this season for the Sun Devils play out. But I definitely think that, that unfamiliarity that the conference media at large, doesn't have with ASU probably was a contributing factor. But let's talk about this, some of these key Sun Devils, Joe, that are going to be kind of really imperative in terms of, shaping the course of the season. We're going to run down over the course of this episode our 10 most important non-quarterback Sun Devils of this season. Non-quarterback, keep that in mind. Joe, who's your number 10?
Number 10, wide receiver Troy O'Meary, a big body guy, showed some talent last year, especially as a red zone threat. They need players to step up at wide receiver, and I think he's a guy that could be one to keep an eye on.
All right, so my number 10 is defensive back Keith Abney, who got a lot of playing time as a true freshman a season ago, part of the Texas to Tempe pipeline. Really impressive offseason for him, and even though he's really young, he's a smart kid, very talented, playing an important position at corner, and also emerging as a team leader.
Number 9 for me, safety Xavier Alford. He had to sit out last year. Some bogus NCAA rules kept him away from action. He's played at both Texas and USC and did some very good things for the Trojans a couple years ago. This guy's energetic. He's got his head in the right place. He is ready to get out there and hit some folks wearing different colors. Keep an eye on Xavier Alford at safety for the Devils this year.
My number 9 is linebacker Keyshawn Elliott. ASU has a couple of quality returning linebackers. They brought in a trio of transfers, but I think Keyshawn Elliott has the highest floor of any of them of this group. I think he has superstar potential, all conference caliber. One of those linebackers that really can kind of just fill every stat category. And in this attacking defense, that's going to be, I think, a key component to elevate from a good unit to a great unit.
Well, they say great minds think alike. So Brad's number 9, that's my number 8, Keyshawn Elliott coming over from New Mexico State. He was a stat filler. You're talking about triple-digit tackles for a very good New Mexico State team last year. Makes his way to Tempe. ASU has quite a few linebackers that should be solid. They return guys that got a lot of experience last year. They've hit some home runs in the transfer portal, and I think Keyshawn Elliott, man, he could be among the most impactful transfers ASU has for this season.
My number 8, whoever wins the kicker job, because ASU is going to have a 3-headed kicking battle in fall camp. Parker Lewis is coming over, the former Scottsdale Saguaro standout. He's coming over from Ohio State. He joins Karsten Kiefer and Ian Hershey, who are here in the springtime. Both those guys were pretty solid, but special teams, I think, is going to play an absolutely crucial role for determining ASU's fortunes in 2024. So we will see. Maybe Parker Lewis, as a former guy who has a little bit more experience, gets that job, but we'll see. So whoever wins that job, they're counting on you.
You can't lose. Number 7, the tight end group for ASU really got gutted over the course of this offseason with transfers and graduation, so they're rebuilding that. Shadmon Mateer, he caught 5 touchdowns for Cincinnati last year. Initially, it intended to transfer to Colorado, and actually did, then changed his mind and became a Sun Devil. So ASU's pass game, a lot of new faces there. Obviously, they're ushering in a new starting quarterback, at least by all accounts. I think Shadmon Mateer is going to be a very integral piece of that offense as that safety valve for the quarterbacks at ASU as the tight end group repairs and rebuilds from last season.
My number 7 is defensive end Clayton Smith. I think ASU's edges are going to be a pretty potent group. He had Prince Dorba a season ago with 6 sacks in 6 games before an injury. They're able to bolster that group. Justin Watley coming over. You have Elijah O'Neal in part of that rotation as well. But Clayton Smith is a guy that I think can be a double-digit sack guy. He's up to 250 pounds. In spring, he was an absolute menace off the edge with some great quickness, a real handful. So I think if he's healthy, I think he's in for a big-time season.
Number 6 for me, defensive lineman C.J. Fight. He showed a lot of promise as a true freshman. He's grown up a lot from year 1 to year 2, being counted on to be a team leader, a defensive leader. Look for a breakout year from C.J. Fight and the interior defensive line for ASU.
I'm going to switch over to the other side of the trenches for my number 6 pick, offensive tackle Maxi Hanachor. He's a guy that hasn't played football too long, came over to ASU from the junior college ranks, was pressed into duty with all the injuries a season ago. He's a guy that has tremendous athleticism, former basketball player, but if you ask the coaching staff there and kind of the feeling of the program, this is a guy who perhaps has the highest upside of any of the ASU group of tackles. A lot of question marks at tackles. You feel pretty good about the interior of the offensive line. They're going to need some difference makers at tackle, and I think that Ihanachor is a guy that can win that right tackle job and not just play well, but play to a difference-making level and help this offense that's going to be looking to rebound this season.
Number 5 for me as we close out this first portion of the list, Cam Scadaboo. He did it all for ASU last year. He was way high on this list a year ago. ASU's got some dang good running backs coming in from the offseason. It's going to be a good group, but he's still a big piece of this puzzle.
My number 5, C.J. Fight. Joe mentioned him, a guy that can be a face of this team from his defensive tackle spot.
C.J. Fight is going to be huge on ASU's defensive line. We all know that the offensive line is going to be a key position group for ASU. This season, as we've talked about on our podcast, we're going to be tagging along with Ben Coleman, left guard for the Sun Devils. He's going to be doing what we call Unblocked by Ben Coleman, giving us inside views of a Sun Devil student athlete, starting with a video later on from the Cutback Giveback haircut event held by Sun Devil running back DeCarlos Brooks.
But after the break, we're going to hear part of my sit-down conversation with new ASU athletic director Graham Rossini. We talked for an hour on a number of key issues. We're bringing a sampling of that. The full episode you can find on our feeds. Welcome back. Up next is a portion of my hour-long sit-down conversation with new ASU athletic director Graham Rossini. That connection, that building of the trust. Obviously it's been a rough few years for Sun Devil athletics. Maybe especially perhaps in the more high-profile sports. What steps, beyond are maybe good, advancing that connection, building that trust, are being taken right now to kind of rebuild that trust, get the fan base kind of re-engaged, right. And obviously it's the market. There's a lot going on, a lot of competition for the entertainment dollar. What kind of steps are being taken to kind of rebuild the fan base's trust?
We've talked a lot about our fans and our support system, and that's a critically important part of where we're going next. But out the gate, it's been really focusing on the team here within Sun Devil Athletics, and our focus as administration is to help resource our coaches to go have success leading these young people and our student athletes. And so we've really been refining our leadership team, really making some tweaks to responsibilities in the department, making sure that everybody understands that there's an opportunity for us to make departmental decisions across multiple sports and not have 26 independent sports that operate maybe wearing the same uniform, but are making kind of decisions in a silo. And so really elevating and tweaking throughout the administrative part of Sun Devil Athletics, just so we're positioned in a moment that resources are really, really important. The way that college sports is moving, the cost of doing business is changing, and so really making sure that we have the right team in place to go create new opportunities, to create resources and revenue that we can bring back in and invest into our sports teams. And so I think that's been the big focus out the gate, is how do we make tweaks within the department that allow us to resource our coaches more effectively, but again, make decisions across the entire department and not be season by season, sport by sport, but look at the overall level of Sun Devil Athletics as a department, athletics department, not a series of teams, and help making sure that we're mindful of all the opportunities that would benefit 6-7 sports at a time, not 1 or 2 in these episodic moments.
The old saying goes that losses can be lessons, and that you take away from some mistakes and missteps, and that better prepare yourself for the future. And perhaps the counter to any kind of concerns of internal hire might be that you got a close look at some of the mistakes, but also some lessons and some action points that can prepare the program for greater success in the future.
Yep.
What are some of the lessons that you've taken from some of the difficulties the program's been through or the department's been through the last couple of years that you think will make for a stronger Sun Devil athletic front in the years to come?
I think we put too much pressure on our head coaches to win, to make our jobs easier, for the administration to sell more tickets and to find more partners. That's unfair to our coaches. They have a very difficult job at this moment in time, leading sports teams in a transfer portal era, in an NIL era. We want their focus to be on building a culture within their programs. And so we're very much focused on how do we resource our head coaches? How do we pour our best efforts into them having success leading these young people day in and day out? And I think that's been a miss here as of late, is that we've hoped that we would win to make it great to connect to our fan base. And we've missed an opportunity to get our fans' voice and their concerns and their feedback brought into how we make decisions. And so we want to change that. We want to be very mindful to the changes that our fans are asking for. We can't do all of them, but we want to value that information and understand if we're going to make changes on a game day or to a facility of ours, or to how we market and how do we promote our sports, how do we create great content, how do we storytell these incredible outcomes that happen in our space, there's got to be a direct relationship between the athletics department and the Sun Devil fan base. And so I think that's the best opportunity for us moving forward, is how do we just build more connection, more of a relationship from the department to the fan base. We all want the same thing. We're all Sun Devils. We all want championships. We all, kind of call it Operation Rings and Banners. Like, we're all in this thing for the same reasons. We can do it together. And so our commitment as an athletic department is to be very mindful of the feedback of our fan base and finding new ways to collect their information, to get their perspective, to understand the things that they want to see on a game day or on our website or in our team shops, or the content that we can create, and have this kind of full circle relationship where we're sharing information, we're making decisions together, we're doing it through the commonality and the love for ASU, and that helps our coaches have success at the highest level.
So Dr. Crow, is making these changes, at an administrative level, and obviously selecting you to lead Sun Devil Athletics.
Yep.
What is your read on his commitment to athletics? Obviously, it's such a resource game in college these days. With that reorganization, mm-hmm. Do you feel that that Arizona State is getting to a point where the commitment and the resources from the university administration top level is going to be to where Sun Devil Athletics can strive and compete? Yeah,
I'm excited, and really, I hadn't spent a lot of time directly with Dr. Crow really prior to this last 6 months. Been in the market for 20 plus years, and so very familiar with the job that he's been doing and the trajectory of ASU. And then coming back, about 3 years ago now, had a chance to interact with him on occasion, but a lot of that was happening in conversations that I wasn't a part of. And so the beauty of the last 6 months for me was to really understand what makes him tick and what the university leadership is focused on moving forward. And I can tell you, I don't know that there's a more competitive person at ASU than Michael Crow. And he's kind of put the charge on us as an athletic department of football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball need to be successful, and they need to be successful very quickly, because the brand association and the history and tradition that comes from those programs, but also, again, where we're going as an industry is going to be very much focused on our ability to generate revenue to reinvest in all of our sports. And those four give us the best chance of finding resources that we can reinvest in the athletic department. And so I sense a total commitment from him, and wasn't going to just walk into a situation blindly without the assurance that ASU leadership is convicted in helping athletics continue to grow. They've made that commitment, they've made that investment, and now it's up to us to go execute that plan and make sure that we're doing our part to be responsible with the investment and find different ways to emotionally connect people to ASU through sport. We're focused on growing enrollment as a university. That's the point of what we do. We're a talent development organization. There's no better platform, in my opinion, than getting the university decorated, or people throughout the country aware of what's happening at ASU than by watching Sun Devil football on a Saturday in the fall, or following what's going on in our basketball programs, or watching baseball and softball as well, competing in regionals and super regionals and College World Series. And so we're very much focused on that. I feel fortunate for us in the athletic department that the president has made this commitment and made this investment. And so we focus on alignment, and I feel that very much every day.
What's going on, man? This is Ben Coleman. I'm here with my guy, DeCarlos Brooks, running back, number 25 for ASU football. So we were together at Cal. So we started doing this haircut thing. Tell me how we started.
So how we started, well, I started practicing all eating. No, I'm just playing. How it really started was, COVID. that's really when I started cutting hair and started like getting into it and stuff like that. And then it kind of changed from a hobby to like my actual lifestyle, like a type of thing where I go in the barbershop and I cut teammates, cut coaches and staff and stuff like that too. So like that's how it kind of really started.
So I can admit, DeCarlos can cut hair. There's been a lot of time people have asked and tried to. I had to vouch for him because they asked, yeah, DeCarlos cuts hair, and we've had a lot of competitors, especially when we were at Cal together, and of course at ASU because everybody thinks they can cut hair. So now we're at your second annual cutback event. And so when did you really start taking cutting serious? I know you mentioned COVID, but when did you really start to realize that you were pretty good at this haircut thing?
I would say like just getting compliments from other people, my teammates and coaches, stuff like that, coming back to me like every other week saying like, "Hey, I need a cut. I need a cut." I'm just like, "Dang, I didn't think I was that good, but I guess like I'm getting better." So, and I just kind of like made it like like kind of like just my thing, like a little hobby, a little side thing I can do, and just a skill that I kept on developing.
So let's get back to the community. Like I said, we're at the second annual cutback event. What made you want to get involved back in the community? I know, especially when you came back to Arizona, I know, especially to you, I know you're originally far from home. So, can you explain to me your impact and how you feel about getting involved back in the community, being here in your hometown where obviously you put in a lot of work?
Yeah, it's just exactly what you just said. Just being an impact to my community where I'm from, and just giving what the kids what they want, making them feel good at the end of the day, making sure they come from this event and just like from things like ASU football, feeling good about themselves. So because they're gonna get older, they're gonna end up going to college and stuff like that. They're gonna remember events like that. So they're gonna remember the football player that gave back haircuts. So that's really why I just give back to my community.
I mean, I think it's a beautiful event. Shout out Delos. So I got to ask you, give me 3 people, unless you can narrow down more, that if you could get a haircut to, it could be celebrity from musician, athlete, anybody, and it could be dead or alive. Like, what is 3 people you would be like, I would always want to give a haircut to if they're deceased, or if not, like currently, who would you want to give a haircut to?
Haircuts. I never really thought about that. Let's see. Who can I get the most money from? That's
Okay,
that's what you really got to think about. I'll say one. I don't know why he popped on my head, Obama.
Okay.
I feel like Obama be one. He always got crisp hairline, stuff like that. I don't know if he gives money to his hair barber. I don't know. Who else was that? Jamie Foxx.
Okay.
He always got a fresh lineup. He always got a fresh cut. Tom Brady.
Okay, yeah, I feel like it's different. I feel like you get different hairstyles, different age groups, different age groups. I think that's important. So there used to be an old rule that if you were a roommate with DeCarlos, you got free haircuts. Some people try to stretch that rule. Is that rule forever valid? How long is that rule valid for?
That rule is valid all the way till I got here. So that rule, I mean, you ain't really had to pay till we moved here. So I mean, that room's still valid. So if you ever room with me, you don't have to pay for haircuts as long as you in the same house. As soon as you out, hey.
I think that's a pretty good incentive. I think I'm good for life. I have shown love to Delos because I do believe Delos deserve money. There has been people that try to get over Delos on some money, but I do think that's a pretty good incentive if you live with Delos. Aside from haircut, as far as football goes, what are you most excited about for this season? Obviously, being your second season here. I felt like in the middle of last season you had a really good stretch, especially that Washington State game. So what is one thing that you're excited about for this upcoming season?
I'm just excited to get back on the field and just do what I do, stay healthy, and just like keep on building with the team. And you've seen our team; like we got a lot better guys in chemistry, and we've been working our butts off this whole off season. So just getting out there with the guys and just staying healthy and just showing what I can do at the end of the day. That's what I can go.
I know you're a team player. I know your number one goal is just to win. But do you have any specific goals? Like if you would just name a few that you have that you might have written down in the back of your mind. Like what are some specific goals that you want to achieve?
Oh yeah, I definitely have like personal goals for myself. Like I got like written up in my room, like NFL everywhere, just because like that's what's on my mind. That's something I want to be obsessed with. So I have goals. I want to definitely get over 800 rushing yards. That's my goal. Over 10 touchdowns. Those are my personal running back goals. And then ultimately, like you said, like I just want to win. Like, and I know if we win and when we do win, it's things of that nature. Everybody's gonna eat. So it's not just gotta be me. So once everybody wins, like everybody can eat.
Last question. What is one piece of advice that you can remember from family, that you heard online, social media, that you kind of take with you? Like it could be a quote, it could be anything.
Don't worry about the naysayers. Don't worry about people talking like the media and stuff like that. Just focus on you. Keep your head down. Keep working.
For sure. All right. Here my guy DeCarlos, second annual cutback event. Go Devils.
Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. We are running down our top 10 most important non-quarterback players for the 2024 season for Arizona State. We got from 10 to 5 in an earlier segment, so we're down to the last 4. These are key players, key positions. Brad and I, we have some similarities, some difference. I'll get it started. My number 4, defensive back Shamari Simmons. He was the team MVP last year, came up from the FCS level, really burst on the scene. Cam Scadaboo got a lot of credit, deservedly so, on offense for what he did as a first-year Sun Devil. Simmons deserved and got that as a defensive player for the Devils last year. I think he's just a crucial part of this defense and this team.
I'm going to stay with in the secondary with my pick for number 4, cornerback Javon Robinson. A guy that came over to ASU from Washington State, so he already has familiarity with Brian Ward's defensive scheme. Now, ASU lost their top 3 corners from a season ago, including Ed Woods, who left during the middle of spring practices. So there was kind of a leadership and experience void. There's a lot of talented younger players. LaTerrence Welch, we mentioned Keith Abney before, Rodney Bimage, the true freshman. But I think Robinson is poised with his experience with the scheme, his experience playing at this high level of football, as well as just coming off a pretty solid spring, that he can be a difference maker at corner.
My number 3 is a guy that Brad's already mentioned. It's my expectation that ASU is going to be in quite a few dogfights. They should be in some close games. The schedule is consistent. You don't necessarily have the highs and lows of like top 5 teams or FCS teams, just consistent week in, week out. And if you're playing in close games, that means that the kicker is going to be important. Parker Lewis, he had some accomplished times as a USC Trojan earlier in his career. Recently was at Ohio State, did not get much playing time there. He's capping off his collegiate career as a Sun Devil. We have seen what good and bad place kicking can do for a college football team. I think his presence is going to be pivotal, because it's just my prediction that ASU's games, they're going to be multiple that are decided by the kicker for better or worse. And so Parker Lewis is very likely going to be the guy making those decisions on the field with his leg.
My number 3, safety Xavier Alford. Joe mentioned him. He's a guy who unfortunately was not able to play last season due to some faulty NCAA rules, but he's really good, folks. I think he's going to be a guy that can elevate to an all-conference caliber level despite not playing the last couple of seasons. Shamari Simmons, last year's team MVP, is going to be great at safety, but I think Alford, that tandem has some serious ability. Demarius Randall, Jordan Simone type for those longtime ASU fans. I think Alford is a guy that can become a national name in 2024.
Into the top 2. For me, number 2 is center Leif Fautanu. He is the leader of that offensive line, which of course was beleaguered and damaged quite a bit last season. They took their lumps in a number of ways. He was the most consistent piece of that Sun Devil offensive line, and that remains the case in 2024. So he will be leading this group where there are some question marks. You have guys like Ben Coleman, who you just saw. They're going to be partnering together, left guard and center. Sean Na'a, other offensive tackles that are going to be in the mix. It's going to be a few position groups that are decided over the course of fall camp, but Leif Fautanu, that is the leader of the offensive line, and as the line goes, so will the Sun Devils this year.
Number 2 for me, wide receiver Jordan Tyson. ASU lost Elijah Badger to the transfer portal in the spring, but I think Tyson's emergence is one element that can really elevate ASU from potentially trying to get to 500 to a team that can be in the postseason. Dynamic spring. He's fully healthy now from a serious knee injury after coming from Colorado. The chemistry he had with Sam Levitt was very evident in spring. He can be a wide receiver 1 for this Devil team.
Number 1 for me is that wide receiver 1, Jordan Tyson, just like Brad mentioned. I think that his dynamic downfield abilities can really diversify this offense. However, if he does not step up to that challenge, then that really limits what ASU can do.
And my number 1 player is a guy that Joe just mentioned a moment ago, center Leif Fautanu. A guy who was rock solid and steady with his play through a difficult final or season a year ago, but is really elevated as a team leader, not just for this group of offensive linemen that is going to be looking for a better year in 2024, but also to help work with whoever wins ASU's quarterback job that will be battling out in fall camp. And the next time Joe and I are on the airwaves here at Arizona's Family Sports Network will be August 1st as we preview fall camp and all the things and battles that'll be coming at you. And then we'll be with you each and every week through the end of the year as we talk this 2024 Sun Devil football team.